ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ओम शांति शांति शांति।
Mahopanisad, chapter 3, read verse 19.
क्रूरेण जडतां याता तृष्णा भार्यानुगामिना वशः कौलेयकेनेव ब्रह्मन्मुक्तोऽस्मि चेतसा।
This verse describe the nature of Chetas, the mind, not the Trishna. Up to here, up to 18, the description of the Ahankara was done. Now, about the Chetas, Trishna description will come afterwards. In that context, the mind was described as the one, Trishna Bharyanugamina, by the mind that pursues, follows the wife in the form of Trishna. In that way, the Trishna name came here, but it was actually the description of the Chetas, the mind. How difficult is the mind control is now told with help of some illustrations. Read 20.
अप्यब्धिपानान् महतः सुमेरून्मूलनादपि अपि वन्यशनाद् ब्रह्मन् विषमश्चित्तनिग्रहः।
Brahman Chitta Nigraha Mahataha Abdhipanat Api Sumerunmulanad Api Vanyashanad Api Vishamaha. Vishamaha means difficult. Controlling the mind is much more difficult than these feats. What are those? Say, Brahman, O great Brahmana, addressed to Rubu by Nidyaga. Brahman, Mahataha api abdipanat. Mahataha abdipanat api. If one has to or one were to drink the ocean of the water of a big ocean, a tree had condensed the oceanic water in the palm and he drank it. You say it is with the help, with the name of the Rama. Anyway, he did it. So like that, how difficult is to drink the oceanic water. More difficult than drinking the water of a very big ocean, let's say Atlantic, etc. Than that, Sumerun Malanadapi. Unmulana, uprooting. Uprooting the Mount Sumeru, the very big mountain. Then that also, Sumeru Unadapi, more difficult. Again, Vannashanadapi, more difficult than eating the fire. Can anyone eat fire? No. You might have seen, in Maharashtra, during the Navratri celebrations, some people from Kolhapur side come with the Ambabai, this thing, idol, etc. And they put the flame in the mouth. Of course, they do it, but it is not actually eating the fire. Why? Because they are chewing some herb. You must see them. They always chew that. And because that herb, the heat of the fire is not felt. So it cannot be taken as the eating of the fire. But actually eating the fire, impossible. So more difficult that say Vandeshanadapi Chitta Nigraha Vishama. Vishama is difficult, much more difficult than these feats. Means it's very, very difficult. That doesn't mean that we should not try to control the mind. Without the control of the mind, you can't proceed in what? Spirituality. Adhyatma is not possible without the mastery over the mind and the senses. It is only to hint that don't take the mind for granted. At what time it can revolt, we can't know. Be alert, be on the guard of yourself. It only shows more efforts are necessary to control the mind. Continue.
Chittam karanamardhanam tasmin sati jagatrayam tasmin kshine jagat kshinam tachikitsyam prayatnataha.
Chittam arthanam karanam. Tasmin sati jagatrayam ad bhavati. Tasmin kshine jagat kshinam tat prayatnataha chikitsatam. Tat prayatnataha chikitsatam. Chittam arthanam karanam. Mind is the cause of all vishayas. Or in short, you can put drishya jagat. Mind is the cause of drishya jagat. This statement appears strange. Look, this vast jagat comprising mountains, oceans and all, forests and all that there. How it can be? That is what? Produced by the mind. How can the mind be the cause of such a vast jagat? Simple. Whatever jagat you may have, if mind is there, it is there. If mind is not there, it is not there. This jagat that is there, where does it go in the sleep? When you say jagat, we mean the individual jagat and not the public jagat. Public jagat, Ishvara Srishti will be there. But what I am concerned is my individual jagat, the experiences I derive by interaction with this public jagat. That is the jagat of the individual jiva. Public jagat need not be a problem. but it is the private, individual jagat. Pandemic is going on since more than 1.5 years. And majority of people have got frightened more because of exposure to mass media, wherein everyone has got the right to say what one has got. But how many really have got the qualification to do that is a big question mark. And bombarding the mind with all this media, the disease is more severe because of fear than the actual reality. But there are certain section of people who are not scared. Pandemic is the same. Majority are frightened. Some people are what? Not worried about that. Not that it is not going to affect them as such, but not that scared. It is because of their outlook and the values in life and trust in Ishvara. So because anything and everything that happens is guided by what we call niyati. Niyati means the rules and regulations of Ishvara, not any government. Ishvara. Pandemic also has got a role in it, possibly. Not possibly, certainly. To teach the humanity is always running after what? Khao, pivo, maja. There is nothing out of place. In fact, there is an interesting incident. Swami Vivekananda, during his tour, reached Kashmir. There is a temple. At that time, it was dilapidated, destroyed by the invaders. Kshira Bhavani temple. Someone said, if here a havana, a sacrifice is done with the kshira, pudding, something great. So Swami Vivekananda said, let me do it. He was doing. You know who is Bhavani? Parvati, goddess Parvati, Durga, who destroys all evils. While performing the havan, a thought flashed in the mind of Swami Vivekananda. He said, Mother, could you not save yourself? Why this condition of the temple? You are Durga. You can destroy all wicked entities. Pat came as reply in his mind only. That is what I willed. That also is my will only. We don't know what niyati is. So niyati, maybe like certain surgeries, they are there. So here, yes, this is so difficult. That is the nature of the mind. That is the nature of the mind. Continue.
याम याम अहम मुनिश्रेष्ठः संश्रयामि गुणश्रियं ताम ताम कृन्तति मे तृष्णा तंत्रीमिव कुमूषिका.
Something more about the earlier verse we can see. Chittam arthanam karanam. This is what we are seeing. It is the cause of the Vishayas, means Drishya Jagat. Mind is there in the waking and the dream. The worlds of whether waking or dream are there. In sleep, mind is no more functioning. it has got merged in its immediate cause, ignorance. There is no Jagat. This proves by Anvaya and Vatireka that the mind itself is the cause of the Jagat. And what we are talking of is individual Jagat. Individual Jagat, not the public Jagat. Public Jagat has got its own this. What is that? Niyati, that's what it is. And of course, Niyati also is governed by the sum total of the karma phala of all the beings. In 1857, I won't go in the detail of that, there was one Lakad Baba. Lakad Baba name came to him afterwards. Some great Giri or some this is that. A great yogi. So, to make the long story short, the governor or viceroy got annoyed or insulted by the punishment that he gave to an army officer by just stopping his speech. Of course, he had given a good piece of advice to him, but he didn't listen. And his speech was lost in certain circumstances. Then he surrendered and it was restored. But this official took it as an insult of British people. They came with the order that burn him alive. He said, come on, prepare the fire. He went and sat on that. It was lit. Huge, big conflagration. All were, that is what. Wood was burnt. And afterwards, with that, this yogi is coming out intact. What can the viceroy do it? So that is fit. He said, you have used 91 mounds, those are mounds of wood. Henceforth, after 91 years, you people will get humiliated and you will have to leave India. 1858 or 57 or something. 1857 and 1947, 90 or 91 years. That was 58 or something. And it happened. But after this said, India will be free, but for some years, it will have to face very difficult period. We can see the history. Afterwards, India will rise to the peak. So that Niyati, the law and order at the cosmic level governed by Ishvara. So that is how. So that is as for the public Jagat. But at individual level, it is in the hands of the Jiva that the same Jagat of all can be used for the highest purpose of life, that is to gain Atma Jnana, Brahma Jnana, and thereby moksha. So therefore, Chittam Arthanam Karanam. Tasmin Sati. So long as the mind is there, Jagatrayam Bhavati. All three Jagats means Bhu, Bhuva, Soha. Entire cosmos happens to be there. Tasmin Kshine. Chitte Kshine. When the mind ends, Jagat Kshinam. Jagat becomes what? Jagat ends. Therefore, Tat that means that my prayatnataha chikitsam should be treated like you treat the disease. Should chikitsa means therapy. It should be subjected to therapy, means it should be set right. How? Prayatnataha, with great effort, because it is not an easy task. Further, we have the read 22. Munishreshta aham yam gunashriyam samshrayami tam me trishna samshrayami trishna me tam kruntati umushika tantrim iva. Umushika tantrim iva. Muni Shrestha, O great Muni, aham, said Nidaga says, me, yam gunashriyam samshrayami. Whatever good qualities, sadguna, good values in life that I resort to. What is Krishna does? Krishna, tam, all those varieties of good gunas that I imbibe and put in practice in my life, all those, Krishna, what does it do? Tam, kruntati. Kruntati means it cuts, in the sense Krishna overpowers the values that I put in practice. Krishna has got always the upper hand than these values that I cherish. Kruntati, cuts. How? Umushika tantrim iva. A bad mouse, a wretched mouse, what? Cuts the wire of veena, Indian violin. Why I have heard they even cut the wires in the car. See how strong the teeth must be. They cut, and nobody's business. They cut. So that the Trishna is like this, a bad mouse which destroys the good qualities also. Therefore, by due practice, with great effort, it has to be treated. Now comes the, yes, from here, this Trishna starts now. The description of Trishna comes. Read 23.
Padam karotyalanghepi trupta vifalamihate chiram tishtati naikatra trishna chapalamarkati.
This Trishna is compared to a Chapala Markati. Markati, a female monkey. Chapala, always what? Fickle. It's something which is always fickle. That a fickle female monkey. I don't know why that Markati, because of Chandas or this thing. I don't think there is a difference between a male monkey and female monkey in terms of the fickleness, whatever it may be. Trishna Chapala Markati Alanghepi Padam Karoti. Even at places which are alangya, difficult to cross over, it puts its feet. means there is nothing impossible about Krishna. It can do anything, be careful about that. Krishna, hankering, insatiable, hankering for Vishaya, sense pleasures. Because for an ignorant person, sense pleasure is the only source of happiness. He doesn't have the viveka to know that all sense pleasures are borrowed from our Sarupa Paramananda. That's why the sense pleasure becomes a big thing for him. And that Trishna, hankering for them, is difficult to control over for such a person. So therefore, it is so powerful that which cannot be crossed, that puts the foot on it. Means it is able, it makes its way through. Again, trupta api phalam ihati. Literally, it desires the result even if it is trupta. Means it can never be satisfied. Alam na vidyate. Enoughness is not there for Trishna. Like analaha, fire. Fire has no enoughness. More you put, more it demands the fuel. Like that, Trishna. More you satisfy or indulge in sense pleasure, more it demands. Chiram ekatra, chiram na tishtati. It never remains at one place. Trishna never means it goes on from Vishayas to Vishayas, Vishayas to Vishayas, endless Vishayas. It goes on. Read further, 24.
क्षणमायाति पातालं क्षणं याति नभस्थलं क्षणं भ्रमति दिक्कुञ्जे तृष्णारुत्पद्मषट्पदी.
Krishna Rutpadma Shatpadi Kshanam Patalam Ayati Kshanam Navasthalam Yati Kshanam Dikkunje Brahmati. This Krishna compared to a Rutpadma Shatpadi. Shatpadi means the one who has got 6 legs. Bee. A bee, Brahmara. Like a black bee, etc. are there, no? Brahmara. What is it? Rutpadma Shatpadi. The bee that roams in the Hridaya Kamala. Hridaya Kamala here is Antakarana. The bee, this Krishna, compared to a bee that wanders, that roams in our Antakarana. Krishna, Rutva Shatpadi, Kshanam, within a trice, within a moment, Patalam Ayati, goes to Patala, it read something about sense pleasure there. Oh, it must be nice, etc. Mind goes there in the Patala. Kshanam Yati Navastalam. Literally goes to the sky, means heavens. In a moment, it goes to heaven. Again, Kshanam Dikkunje Brahmati. Dikkunja. The gardens in these different quarters. In the cosmos, many things are there. The gardens in the quarters. This is what the bee of Krishna wandering in our heart does. Continue.
सर्वसंसार दुःखानां तृष्णैका दीर्घदुःखदा अन्तःपुरस्थमपि या योजयत्यतिसङ्कटे
Eka Trishna Samsara Dukkhanam Dirgha Dukkhada Ya Antapurasthamapi Ati Sankate Yojayati Antapurasthamapi Ati Sankate Yojayati Eka Trishna. This one Trishna itself is so harmful. Sarva samsara dukkha. You list down all the sorrows, all the means that give sorrow in the samsara. You list down. Among them, Trishna, insatiable thirst for sense pleasure, is what? Dirgha dukkhada is the one which gives sorrow for a very long time. There are other means which give sorrow also, but this is the one which gives sorrow for a very long time. Means very, very powerful in making the person miserable. Yeah, this is Krishna. What does it do? Antapurasthamapi. Literally, those who are residing in the inner apartments, in the sense, figuratively, those who consider themselves safe, what does it do? This Krishna, Ati Sankate Yojayati, throws them in great calamity. They may think they are secure, but Krishna does its job and throws them in the calamities. So powerful, the sense, this hankering for sense pleasure. This is what happened. In the earlier class, I told about that Indra. He misunderstood the role of Viveka and Vairagya. He took it as an offense against his luxurious life. It needs Shraddha. Shraddha in the Shastra. Why in the Shastra? Because it is given by Ishvara. Shraddha in the Ishvara. And Shraddha in the Acharya who unfold that. If no Shraddha, the teaching appears to be something which is not really good for me as such. The wrong notion. That's why even Bhagavan Krishna highlights the role of Shraddha. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. One who has got Shraddha in the teaching, in due course, he is bound to gain the knowledge. Samshayatma vinashyati. Person who doubts all these comes to a ruin in the sense, gets deprived of the highest Purushartha in life. Why Shraddha is so important? Because what is described as the goal is still beyond our reach. We have not verified it. We may not even be convinced about that. And that makes us hesitated in taking the steps in terms of sadhanas. Without sadhanas, no progress is there. So therefore, by seeing the source of such teaching, by seeing that it is something which is verified by great masters. Though I have not verified it, I should develop an attitude and understanding that it should be necessarily correct. And I can also accomplish it by taking to the means given by Shastras. That conviction makes him go through the sadhanas. In course of time, that person is bound to accomplish the highest goal of life. So, if Krishna says, should you not believe that? Why? How do you say, why should I believe? Why should I believe Krishna? Krishna is a person who has nothing to gain in this life. Krishna is a person who has nothing that he has not gained in the life. He is Paramananda Swarupa. And yet, he is donning a body. And if you scrutinize that, a body which has got, means a life which has got so many calamitous incidents. From the childhood, the very existence was threatened. You know what Kamsa did? He came out of all those things. Afterwards, he has to face this Mahabharata, Duryodhana and all this brood. Because his purpose was that. The very purpose of taking the embodiment was to establish dharma, protect the good people, and guide them to the highest goal of life. Now, such a person whose life itself is out of love for humanity, without anything expecting in return because it doesn't need it, should you not have Shraddha? That is why. See, we run after the Vishayas in the world. But Bhagavan has already put a nameplate there in the world. You know that nameplate in Bhagavad Gita he has put. Anityam asukham lokam. This loka, this world is anitya, impermanent. This loka is asukha, which really doesn't have sukha. And what we expect from the world is right opposite of the nature of the world. We expect nitya sukha from the world which is anityam asukham. Can we succeed? If we fail, if we despair in our attempts, who is to be blamed? We didn't give heed to what Krishna said. Yes, that's why we should always take guidance from knowledgeable people, elderly people. Generally, children, youngsters think that all that the parents tell is not correct. Maybe that they are not omniscient. They may also commit mistakes. That doesn't mean all that they say is wrong. One should have that willingness to accept their advice and verify it. You verify and then proceed. Don't discard just like that. Otherwise, you have to repent in life. No, Krishna says this. I should necessarily have the Shraddha. That's why he highlights Shraddhavan Labhate. Adhyatma Shastra is such that its topic being Atindriya, imperceptible, not available for the senses to verify. Shraddha gains a great role. So therefore I say, among all the sources of sorrow that are there in the samsara, if you list them down, Krishna alone will outshine in the entity which gives the sorrow for a very long period. So even those who think they are secure, it can subject them to calamities. Read.
Trishna Vishuchi
Next two lines.
Trishna Vishuchika Mantraha Chinta Tyago Hi Sadvija Stoke Nananda Mayati Stoke Nayati Khedatam.
Dvija, he. Saha Chinta Tyagaha Trishna Vishuchika Mantra Stokena Anandam Ayati Stokena Khedatam Ayati. Dvija, addressed to Rubu by Nidaga, O revered Brahmana, because it is the fact is so that Chinta Tyaga. So the question comes, what is the remedy for such a dreaded Trishna? Here is the remedy. What is it? Saha Chinta Tyaga. Chinta means not concern, care, anxiety, not that. Here, Chinta is a thought. Thought or consideration that Vishayas, never the Vishayas can make me happy. Sense of the Vishayas have no capacity to make anyone happy because they do not have happiness as their intrinsic feature. Even whatever that happiness we think we get from Vishayas is never from Vishayas. It is our Swarupa Ananda one. Shastra says, seek the happiness directly from its source and not through the agency of Vishayas, because that will make you land in sorrow, not only sorrow, it will permanently hook you Janma Marana Rupa Samsara cycle of transmigration. Believe this. Know this for certain. Then why don't you seek happiness directly? Seeking of happiness can never be questioned. Redressal from sorrows can never be questioned because that is the fundamental urge. We never decide to be happy. We decide to take the different means that which we think will give us happiness. Just as see. You can decide to eat the food or not to eat the food. You can decide to drink the water or not to drink the water. But can you decide to be hungry or not? Can you decide to be thirsty or not? Hunger and thirst are what intrinsic feature of the body. You have to take care of them if the body has to continue. Like that, pursuit of happiness, redressal of sorrows is something that is fundamentally there in us. But means taken to them depends on our fancies and value system. Shastra guides, don't run after the Vishayas for this, because that happiness to the total exclusion of sorrow that you seek in life is your nature. This is not a pep talk. We can right now verify here. See, in waking state, you can be happy. You are prone to be sorrowful. And we run after the Vishayas. Try to acquire this and try to get away from others. This is our pursuit in waking and dream. Means sukha dukkha, we alternate between these, for which we take to different means. In sleep, we are not interacting with the world. There is no vyavahara with the world. Yet, there is no trace of sorrow. On waking up, we recollect, oh, what was there was the happiness only. In sleep, two things were there. Ignorance of everything, including myself, and happiness, which I recollect after waking up. Both I recollect after waking up. I did not know anything. I slept well. I did not know anything, including myself, but I slept happily. Means your experience at that time was not knowing anything, including yourself, means ignorance, and happiness to the total exclusion of sorrow. If you scrutinize further, in sleep, only two things were there. What are they? Your nature, real nature, Chaitanya, plus ignorance. Because of ignorance, you didn't know anything. But when you recollect the experience of happiness free from sorrow, is because your nature Chaitanya. Do you need any more proof than this to know that your Swarupa is Ananda, free from sorrow? This is what Mandukya declares. Avasthatraya Sakshi. Analyze your three states of consciousness. Discard them. What remains is free from that, your Swarupa, which is labeled as Turiya there. Don't think something Turiya is there. Chaitanya, which was in and through the three states of consciousness, waking state, dream, and this state, stripped off from the upadhis of these three states, that pure Chaitanya is Turiya, your Swarupa. Saha Atma, Saha Vidneya. That is your Atma Swarupa. It's Sakshatkara, you should get. Can't you verify this? Is it cock and bull? Something matter of belief? You should have that much capacity to analyze and discover it. If you don't have, pray. Ishvara will grant you that capacity to discover this truth. Not something totally to be believed, but we have got every reasons to accept it until we verify it. So therefore he says, Saha Chinta Tyagaha, thought or consideration that Vishayas can never make me happy. Because happiness is not their nature. Freedom from sorrow is not their nature. That is the remedy for this dreaded Trishna, which is compared to cholera. You know cholera? Trishna, Vishuchika, mantra. Mantra, a remedy for the Vishuchika. Vishuchika means cholera. What is the cholera? In the form of Trishna. Insatiable thirst for sense pleasures. Because why cholera? Because olden days, cholera was a dreaded pandemic, epidemic, difficult to control. Those days, some such remedial measures, there, mantras, etc. are there. That doesn't mean that mantras, etc. available today are really the remedies for that. Those days, they were there. As, for example, snake bite, Garuda mantra was there. If one has got the real one, even today it can work. But there may be some fake people also as the different thing. So it is a remedy, mantra in the sense it is a remedy for the cholera of Trishna. And this Trishna is such that stokena anandam ayat. Stoka means a little. Even if you succeed in giving up a little of Trishna, you can get great happiness. On the contrary, stokena khedatam ayati. If you leave even a little of Trishna left over, you get subjected to sorrow. Khedam ayati. This is the power of Trishna. So with this, the detestable nature of Ahankara, Mana, and Trishna was described. Now, Nidaga proceeds to show how this body and how its avasthas, how its different states are full of contempt, which you can't bear. Such is the nature of the body and its different states. Read.
नास्ति देह समः शोचः नीचो गुणविवर्जितः.
So it says, Deha samaha shochaha nichaha gunavivarjitaha na asti. Deha samaha equal to the body. Deha samaha. Shochaha, shokarha, deplorable. A thing or an entity as deplorable like the body, or nichaha, insignificant one, or low as the body, also guna vivarjita, Guna vivarjita. Virtueless. It says, no asti. Is not there. That is, there is nothing in this world equal to his body in its nature of being deplorable, insignificant, and virtueless. Means body is most deplorable. Body is the most insignificant one. Body is the most virtueless entity. But we take it to be right opposite to it. We take it to be the highly worthy of pursuit. That's why from the time we get up until we sleep, we are always engaged in Deha Puja, worship of our body at different levels. Whatever you do is what? Khao, piyo, maja karo. This is the body. So, but it is not worth it. Even see how much time is spent in beautification of the body. Body is a pack of filth. It is a necessary instrument, no doubt. But it should be kept in a fit condition so as to serve as the means for the highest goal of life. Body you can't throw away like that. But it should be used as the proper sadhana, proper means to gain the highest goal of life. Parama Purushartha. So that is Atma Jnana, Brahma Jnana, Moksha. Human body is designed for that. Of course, means of Vishya Bhogas are there. At the same time, Adhyatmika Pragati also is there. It depends on us how we make use of this body. Whether to follow the masses in terms of sense pleasures or to follow the Shastra to accomplish the highest goal of life. It is left to our choice. Moment by moment, as Kathopanishad shows. Shreya, Preya. We are confronted with a choice whether to take to the pleasing Preya or take to the highest good Shreya. Who are the one who has to take decision? We. But to take the decision, our buddhi should be properly guided. It needs to be educated. It needs to be trained. How will you do that? Ask Bhagavan Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, I said, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Karya Vyavastito. In the matters of what is to be done, what is not to be done, the pramana, the means of knowledge for you is what? Shastra. Why? It is something given by Ishvara. If it is Shruti, Vedas, or based on Shrutis, guidelines compiled by great masters, Smriti. The source is Ishvara only. Better get guided by that. If at times the guidelines of the Shastras are not clear to you, it's not very clear whether I should do this way or that way because the time has changed. If you have got such doubt, consult those who are knowledgeable in the matters of Shastras. Those whom you know and you are certain that they will not exploit you, but out of love for you, they will give the right guidance because they know. But be careful choosing. There may be some who are eager to help you, but they don't have the means to do so. Like, you are going somewhere and you are not sure about the address. Ask a person, where is this? He is very eager to tell you, to help you, but he himself doesn't know it. He gives a wrong direction. Nowadays, GPS is there. Even in GPS, you should have Shraddha in the voice of some lady whom you don't know at all. Is it not? I think some journalist asked a spiritual master, why do you people insist on this faith, means Shraddha? That master was a witty master. Ma'am, do you ever drive? Have you ever gone to a place which you don't know? Yes, he said. How? GPS. How did you believe in the voice of an unknown lady and drove accordingly? Is it not because of Shraddha? You are sure that it will not mislead because it's based on certain data, which is correct. At times, even GPS may fail you. I read an incident many years back. In Europe, one elderly lady was driving GPS. Destination was about 2 hours distance. 4 hours elapsed. And to her utter amazement, the small countries know. The signboard language started differing from one country to the other country. Wondering, what is this happening? A destination of 2 hours, no 4 hours, not. Then she came to know she is ditched by GPS. Some mistake. It is human. Don't think computer, etc., is what is that? Satellite, etc., are foolproof. Made by human only, no. But you have to have Shraddha. But here, because these instructions are from Ishvara, who is Sarvajna and Sarvashaktiman, error is not possible. So therefore, with due Shraddha, we should pursue our final goal of life and conduct ourselves accordingly. So that as far as Deha is concerned, there is nothing more deplorable. There is nothing more insignificant. There is nothing more virtueless. Therefore, make use of the Deha, body, as a means to reach the higher goal, highest goal. But don't take that body itself as the goal of life. We'll proceed further. Oh.
स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितः ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ